Good afternoon. I'd like to call to order the Salem-Keizer Area Transportation Study. It is Tuesday, October 22nd, 2024, and we will do introduction / roll call. Let's start with PC members to establish quorum. For Salem, Councilor Phillips.
Councilor Phillips, City of Salem.
ODOT.
Brandon Williams, ODOT.
Transit.
Shofi, I'm here. Oh,
Okay.
And also Sarah Duncan, Salem Area Mass Transit Board.
Okay, Salem-Keizer School District.
Maria Hinojos Presi, Salem-Keizer School Board Director.
And Marion County. Did I already do Marion County? No. Marion County.
Alvin Clausen, Government Relations for Marion County.
Polk County.
Lionel Motorist here.
And I'm Kathy Clark, Mayor of Keizer. Did I get all the members? Okay, let's go around the room then with, starting with Lonnie with her.
Lonnie, Marion County Engineer.
Try not to get your mouth full.
Okay.
Desiree.
Desiree Collins, SKATS staff.
Steve Dobrinich, SKATS staff. Mike Jaffe, SKATS staff. Ray Jackson, SKATS staff. Shofiel Azom with SAMTED, Salem Area Mass Transit District.
Kiki Doman, SAMTED, Commuter Options Program. Lilacini, City of Amsoil. Meredith Heckelwald, Safe Routes Program Assistant. And Tanya Perfecto, also Safe Routes Assistant.
And then who else is online? Ashley Breyer.
Ashley Byers, FHWA, Salem.
Hey, is there anyone else on? I don't see on the screen. So, okay, we are good to go. The first order of business is to approve the policy committee minutes from September 24th, 2024. Were there any additions or corrections to note? Okay, we need a motion to approve as presented.
Make a motion to approve. Second.
Moved by Commissioner Mordhorst, seconded by Councilor Phillips. All in favor, signify by saying aye.
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 Any objection? Signify by saying no. No objection, motion passes unanimously. Public comment. Time is provided for members of the public to address the policy committee. Hi, Tammy. I think you're the public today.
Hello.
All right. Any comments for the policy committee today? I guess we do have another member of the public.
No, ma'am.
All right.
She's hired staff now, so she's with Safe Routes.
Oh, fantastic. Okay. Let's go then to Shofi. Let me pronounce it. Ul Azum?
No, that's correct. Yeah.
Okay. And then Kiki Doman.
Yeah.
For Safe Routes for Cherriots Transportation, Commuter Options.
Kiki, we have Kiki Doman, and she's going to present our Commuter Options program. Go ahead, Kiki.
Yes, thank you so much. We'll pull it up here. Thank you. As Mayor Clark mentioned, and Shofi Ulazum, I'm Kiki Doman, Commuter Options Coordinator. Next slide, please. And so today we'll just be going over just briefly what Commuter Options Program is, what we did in FY24, our fiscal year, which is from June 2023 to July 2023 to June 2024. So these are our primary things that we did during that fiscal year. And then we'll just open it up for questions afterwards. Next slide, please. All right, so Commuter Options Program at the Transit District here in Salem, Cherriots. So our program is fully grant funded by federal grants provided by both the MPO here and also ODOT. So our primary goal is to help people find the best and most affordable transportation options that best fit their lifestyle. And so by doing that, we partner with community-based organizations and employers, and we try to reach out to and develop those strong community partnerships. And our goal is to reach out to not only employee and employers, like for that commute trip, but go beyond the commute trip. And we're also do a lot of outreach with residential communities, schools, universities, and attend a variety of events as well. Next slide. All right, so our FY24 priorities and outcomes. These are developed by both Cherriots staff, ODOT, and then also SCAT staff as well. As mentioned, on the previous slide, education and outreach are a very top priority. And so we do a lot of fostering, or try to foster active and multimodal safety education. We have a goal of expanding micromobility, growing our existing van pool subsidy program, and then also, of course, improving access to all transportation options here locally. And so we'll just go over just some work that's been done with all those priorities. Next slide. Education and outreach. So this past year, we updated the local bike map. I think previous to this update, the last one done was in 2017. So this was a joint effort by both Cherriots and SKATS staff. And so what we did is enhance the local bike map, and we simplified the map area. The previous one was covered 3 counties, and we thought that this version would serve Salem-Keizer very well, and just kind of really honing in on the target area where we would be able to provide more information, more target areas, a lot of elevation, just different graphics there, and it was a little bit more readable to the reader. And of course, added more transit info, both on the map and then also in the narrative, and just providing resources and like how bikes can be loaded onto the bike map. We added some QR codes, just overall updates to both the physical map, the map on the website, and then resources by QR codes as well, so access to other resources. Next slide. We also did a safety video with Salem-Keizer Public School. So this was the Youth Zero Pass program really opened up the door for strong and just a good collaboration with the school district. So to kind of address the rise in, I guess, youth ridership, the Salem Area Mass Transit District and Salem-Keizer Public Schools collaborated on an instructional video that promotes safe transportation practices that also showcases the talent of the high school theater class at Sprague High School. So we were able to collaborate with different students and get them on a bus, and then we went through a variety of just different ridership tips, rider etiquette, and then also how to put a bike on there, making sure that there's pedestrian safety as well. That just a reminder that these are not school buses. They do not stop and wait for students to cross the road. So that was another major safety tip that we highlighted. And just again, just the overall great overview. It's been a great educational resource that also highlights our UMO e-fare platform as well. Next slide. And then this is just kind of a compiled list of some other meetings and events that we attended. We did a mobility management framework workshop. One of my favorites is the social media post on this slide. We were able to go to a local elementary school for Read Across America, and we brought a bus out where a kindergarten class was able to get on the bus and learn again just the kind of the basics of how to board, how to get off, like, you know, pull the cord, all the different fun rider etiquette and rider tips, and then also kind of got to just explore the bus in general and meet an actual operator as well, which they loved. And then we ended our time together reading a fun children's book about riding the bus as well. So yeah, and then of course, doing a lot of outreach and community partner meetings. We also delivered TL welcome packages to the Courtney Family Veterans Housing and welcomed our new neighbors right next door to the Downtown Transit Center. Yeah, so it was a great full year of meetings and events. Next slide. All right, so expand micromobility. So during this past year, a big goal was how to integrate shared micromobility into our area. And so we spent a lot of our time developing a procurement package for a feasibility study. So the main goal of this is to explore what micromobility looks like in our Salem-Keizer area, and then how can it be folded into the existing ecosystem here of transportation that we have. And so right now, we have a selection committee that is reviewing the applications and the scoring evaluations right now. But overall, the feasibility study, our kind of key deliverables that we had in the package is to provide an assessment report from existing conditions, so kind of doing that market research and of other shared micromobility programs. And then there, we will kind of see, well, what do we have here? How could it fit in? Define program benefits and establish area-specific goals with performance measures. So making sure that we have those key performance success metrics already established. Conduct stakeholder engagement, and then summarize the findings of all of our engagement that we have our local engagement. And then also at the end of the study, our goal is to recommend or have a recommendation of a shared micromobility service model and all that in the implementation plan as well. So we're really excited about this, and
A quick question. Can you help me understand what modes you're talking about within micromobility?
Yeah. So great question. So shared micromobility are modes of transportation that are non-motorized. And so, yeah, I'm trying to think.
It could be.
Oh, like you have a better.
Yeah, let me explain it simplified way. So instead of just saying bike share, so the shared micromobility includes the bike share. It could be e-bike or regular bike. It could be scooter. It could be any of those makes, and we're trying to figure out what is the best mode and means for us. Should we have all electric bikes, or should we have mix of pedal bike and electric bike? Should we have bike and scooter, mix of both? What is the best way to serve our community needs and to reach the first and last mile nation? So we're keeping it open-ended as part of the study to understand what will serve our need the best. Is it bike or is it scooter? We're not eliminating any options, so all the options are on the table. Part of that study is to evaluate each one of those options and then give us a recommendation that the consultant team believe that this is the best way.
No, that's the start. Thank you.
Thanks.
Question. All right, next slide. So our van pool program. So what is a van pool? Well, if you're familiar with carpools, it's folks sharing a ride in a personal car. Well, van pool is basically a supersized carpool. And so with that, a van pool, we work with a vendor, and they own the vans, and how it works is that commuters come together that have a very similar commute route, whether they work at the same region or the same work site, and they decide that they would like to join a van pool, and then they have to have some eligibility requirements that their work site has to be within our service region. And then the Cherriots van pool program actually provides a subsidy that also kind of reduces the cost. So in FY24, at one time, we had, at one given time, we had a max operating van pools of 40 that go in and out of our service region. And within those 40 vans, we had 211 commuters. An average one-way trip is about 28 miles. In FY24, we had just under 85,000 total trips. And then the average occupancy rate is 62%. So how many people are in the actual vans at any given day? So we always had over 50%, so 62. Next slide. So just kind of a quick breakdown of the industry sectors that our van pool program serves. We have currently 17 vans that are a part of an agriculture employer. We have 12 federal vans. We have 8 manufacturing vans, 2 military, and 1 government. And then with that, oh, you're good. just kind of a fun fact, we also did a survey with all of our band pool writers, and we did find out that 22 of our bands are filled with commuters that speak English as a second language. So this is something that we've really prioritized in our outreach with band pool, is making sure that we are engaging employers that are not only in the urban setting, but also in the rural setting. And we want to, yeah, so it's been a really great collaborative effort with the vendor and Cherriots. And then this is just kind of a journey map that I added on a slide that can kind of show how we build bands. So we start off by having commuter connection meetings at a work site where we have people with alike commute routes, and they are able to see if they actually want to join a van pool. And then once they say yes, then we have a vehicle assigned to them that they will have until it's switched out eventually. But yes, then from there, we create a custom schedule, because again, every van pool is different with, you know, people that where they start, or if they have a meeting point. So again, every van that we have has a completely different framework or schedule. And then all of our goals is having commuters with confidence. So we're stoked that people are sharing the ride and also then get to enjoy the benefits. And that's enjoying the benefits, whether they get to relax on their ride to work, they get to share in the savings with other commuters and get to know other people too. So it's been a really great, successful program that we were excited about. Next slide. And then from that survey that I mentioned earlier, here are just some kind of quick quotes that I'll just go over that are from our writers. So thank you so much for the service. It's excellent. We save so much money on gasoline. We would not be working here without this ride. And lastly, for me personally, I'm grateful to the company for providing those of us who don't or can't drive a mode of transportation that's consistent or reliable. I don't know if I'd be working here without it. And this particular writer is from an employer that has also committed to providing an additional subsidy. So actually all those employees, like a commuter benefit, so those employees actually ride in the van pool at no cost to them. Next slide. So improving access to transportation options. So we have a transit pass program or commuter benefit program called the Group Pass. And this is a program where employers or organizations are able to enroll and provide a commuter benefit to their employees. And a commuter benefit is a transit benefit with this particular program, and they're able to provide transit access at an incredibly deep discount. I believe it's about an 88-89% discount to their employees, so it's significant savings. Just some changes this last year. We were able to fully integrate into our e-fares, our UMO platform. So that has been so smooth and so great. Distribution is so easy to the employer. We distribute UMO codes on a quarterly basis, and then we're able to also give them usage reports, and just so they know what employees are actually utilizing their commuter benefit. So this full integration happened in February. And so from February to June 30, we had just over 1,200 rides, so 1,239 rides for the Group Pass program. And again, we're always at Cherriots looking for innovation and making sure that we meet the needs. And so we're looking at other transit pass programs as well to find the needs and gaps. Thank you. So the Get There database. So if you're unfamiliar with the Get There database, this is a statewide ride matching database. So this is a database that ODOT provides and funds, and basically folks that do what I do all over the state, they promote this database where folks are able to find carpool partners, find open seats on van pools. It's also integrated with transit information, bike share as well. So it has all of your transportation options all in one place. If you want to save some money, join a carpool, this is where you go. But you're also able to track your trips, and you can kind of see your savings and your CO2 reduction. So yeah, it's a great database that we help. It also houses our emergency ride home program. So emergency ride home is something that we offer for folks that choose to drive or sorry, not choose to drive, choose a transportation option other than driving alone. And it's also to alleviate that what if. So say that someone carpools to work and their carpool partner is sick. And they're like, oh, well, I can't leave yet, but you're sick. Like, how do you get home? This is where that person that's not feeling well can get their database and actually get a taxi voucher and get a ride home. And our Cherriots commuter option program is sent the bill. So it's just, again, to kind of alleviate that stress of what if, but then you can still also commute with confidence. Next slide. And these are just the FY24 regional results. So this is for Marion, Polk, and Yamhill County. So we had just over 8,000 alternative trips logged within the database. And then I think total trips, that's also including, because some people do log their drive alone trips as well. But yeah, you can also see that remote work is a huge mode that is very popular in our area, with transit in second and carpool in third. And we also have some, I believe, walk there too. Yeah, next slide. Through the Get There Challenge, and so we have a statewide, so that's a statewide platform. We have a statewide effort every year as well, which is called the Get There Challenge. And so we actually just wrapped this up, even though it's technically outside of the fiscal year. Thought I would just kind of add this slide in. So this is a statewide transportation option challenge, and this year it was only for a week. And then next slide, please. And we were able to actually just get our regional results. So within a week, we had just like 1,300 alternative trips logged. And so we were really excited that folks joined the Get There platform and joined us in this effort to just try something new and try a different transportation option and reduce and meet our sustainability goals. Yeah. Next slide. And then looking ahead, so thank you. So in FY25, so we're really excited to get started with the micromobility feasibility study and see the findings from that. We're always trying to emerge mobility options and helping provide alternatives to people with limited transportation options. So again, increasing that access to transportation options. So innovative solutions like whether it's transportation wallets to reduce costs and access, but ultimately just wanting to squash down barriers for people so they have more options to get to other community resources, right? And then of course, always building stronger community-based partnerships, working on construction mitigation, especially with local entities like ODOT and the cities, trying to make sure that if you have a construction project, let's promote transportation options ahead of time, especially if it's going to be impacting that congestion. And then again, focusing trips beyond the commute, always safety education and how we can improve, and then elevate the story of transportation options that, people have options, and just making sure that we educate folks on them. And that's all I have. Questions? It's a lot. I'm trying to
So I've got a question.
Yeah.
On your micromobility, how much are you looking to invest in that? And are you teaming up with Northwest Hub is involved in the bicycle mobility, is doing very well? Are they gonna be a partner that you're gonna bring in to work with and alongside?
Great question, thank you. So as part of the feasibility study, there will be all the stakeholders in the city of Salem-Keizer will be involved. That includes the city of Salem, city of Keizer, and other nonprofit organization, including them, will be part of this. Public outreach is one of the key elements as part of this feasibility study. So yes, the short answer is yes, everyone will be involved, and we're going to consider all the recommendations and findings from the stakeholder groups. And in terms of investment, that depends. That depends on the findings. If the recommendation is there is no case, then there is no question. But if the recommendation is yes, this study will also provide us some estimate for that. Okay, so if you go with this option, let's say all electric, it will cost you this much dollar per year. So if this is also part of the study that we're looking for a service model and then also an cost. So that's also be available sometime next
And
year.
are you also looking at what Salem has tried in the past?
Yeah, so
That's it.
everything, all the
So-
history, that's the first task. Take a look at all the history, what didn't work, what did work. And also, we're gonna do some case studies with similar size and scale, and background. So yes, that is also part of it.
All right. Great questions. Anything else folks want to know? And we do have Safe Routes to School here, so I'm anticipating that there's some collaboration and conversation since you've got a particular travel model that uses primarily transportation options. So it seems like a specialized database, but a real opportunity.
Safe Routes to School is definitely a partner of ours, so we enjoy collaborating.
Chair Clark,
Counselor.
I don't have a question. I just wanted to comment. I appreciate the presentation this morning. I think it's very informational. It was really cool to see the bus with the kindergartners on it, learning about the local options for transit. So thank you for sharing and the work you do in our community.
Thank you. Very much. So one last one, as we're looking at more and more sports facilities going in around town that will have longer seasons of use and so forth, that's going to change some of the travel for families, especially for youth and micromobility. So I'd be interested to see at some point some sort of conversation about what that looks like. With our turf fields, that's going to be a big draw. There's turf fields going in East Salem. I think there's projects in other areas of Salem, but I really can't speak to them. Councilor Phillips might be better informed on that. But just really look at these hubs that are going in that will attract, especially a lot of young people. Our Kaiser Little League fields continue to be a huge destination, put it that way. Tammy can laugh. It's been a parking nightmare for the last 40 years. So again, what are these destinations as they grow in popularity going to do to opportunities to use these options?
I think you bring up a great point with those trip generators, right? Like those events or those kind of like, ongoing things that folks are going to. And there is, we have a contact with CFC, like there's the turf fields out there. And so, yes, so that's something that they're constantly seeing, parking management to different transportation options, transit access. Yes, so that's something that we're always looking into.
Perfect. All right, anything else? Well, thank you so much. We really appreciate it and all the work you're doing. We're looking forward to getting the results as they come in.
Yes, thank you for having me.
That. Let's go to item E. Amendment to the SKATS federal fiscal year 24-29 MTIP. Steve.
Okay, and this is building on Kiki's presentation. This amendment relates to the Transportation Options Program. The program's funded on a 3-year intergovernmental agreement, and it's funded partially by SKATS and partially by ODOT. And so the amendment that we have today is to add $809,467 in ODOT funding. Well, that's the total. The federal amount is $726,335. But we're adding ODOT funds to the project. It already has a SKATS funds program to it. And we've been expecting to see this come through and be added at some point, but ODOT was ready to give us numbers behind what funds they were going to move onto this key number. So this is for the next 3-year cycle of the Transportation Options Program, which is federal fiscal years 25 through 2027. And the new total with SKATS and ODOT funding will be $1.7 million.
Any questions on the proposed amendment for the transportation options?
And this money is funding what? What's the purpose for this funding?
It funds everything for the program. So yeah, it's staffing, coordination, maybe there's other pieces that I don't know about, but the van fuel program subsidies.
Yeah, so it's everything that we do for commuter options, so salaries, studies that we do, ongoing operations, outreach, marketing. So potentially in the upcoming years, maybe we're gonna use it for van fuel subsidy. So everything.
And then we'll come up with a work program.
Yes.
So with the specifics for what they're going to do with it. But it's half funded by SKATS, and half funded by matching by the district. So we'll put that work program together collectively and share that.
Well, we need to amend our UPWP, or is that just kind of already included in there under transit services?
This is outside the UPWP. I mean, we do some interagency coordination,
Okay.
but this is a TIP project outside the UPWP for them to do this work. Yeah.
We'll have an IGA between us, SEMTED and ODOT. And yes, so. And for the next round of IGA, we're working what content and what programs will be there. So we're working with ODOT, and and that's actually, we still have one more year to go. So that's why we're working on the contents to answer a question like what specific programs that we should be funding using this money. But majority of those are kind of fixed. This is what we do, but there may be one or two items added or deleted. But the core foundation is solid. That's what it is.
Just moving forward, I'm seeing more and more funding happening. It's almost like blank checks. I'd almost rather see the program or where the money's going before we approve it, just for general knowledge, and just being open and public, being accountable for those funds. It's hard voting and passing something without seeing where that money is going. Are we doing the taxpayers the best service? And Cherriots provides a very necessity for a city, but just $1.7 million of tax money. I just want to be transparent where it's going.
Yeah, I mean, it's a big sum. Half is coming from ODOT to fund things they've been funding for, 20, 30 years. And the other half is coming from us, and we've been supporting the transportation options program for many, many years. It's not we used to give it like annually, here's a map every year, and that just didn't make sense. So we bundled it into multiple years at once. And this time it was $886 in federal, I think, for our share. And it's already in the adopted TIP. So it's not like an addition. Our money's already locked in. Right. This amendment just locks in ODOT's share of the funds, which actually increased from previous years. It's nice because we didn't know we'd get this much from ODOT originally, and they changes to their program. So this expands the amount of money available to transit staff to do more things with it. Everything you saw already, continuation of all that, but other things you'll probably see in the work plan that they'll put together. And it's a big amount, but it's going to alternative transportation, which is something we're promoting here.
Sarah?
Thank you so much. This is a project that is personally kind of near and dear to my heart. It does a lot of work to fill the gaps for people that maybe can't do transit and aren't taking like their car places. Maybe they can't drive or they don't drive, or it makes transit more accessible to people because we are limited by funds, we are limited by budget, and also just the way that our city is complicated. And so the Transportation Options Program has done such a fantastic job filling those gaps that are very often occupied by underprivileged populations or things that we otherwise would have to spend a lot of money to get to, like doing some sort of like mini bus program that goes out into neighborhoods. Like it's so much easier to be able to coordinate something like the van pool. And so I know that this is a large sum of money, and I appreciate that everybody takes that very seriously in this room, but I did want to just kind of reaffirm that this program does a lot for what it is, and it does a good job covering people that are very difficult to get to, and providing them options to get places. I really appreciated Kiki including those testimonials. There are people that are able to get to work and are able to do jobs that otherwise they would not be doing if it weren't for programs like this one. So there's a lot of good that comes out of this program, and I just wanted to kind of reaffirm that, and also like personally thank our team for working on this, because this is one of those things that not every community has. And I do feel like they were very fortunate to have it. So that's my 2 cents. And thank you everybody for all of your time and listening to this project. That's a little difficult to understand or to explain succinctly. So thank you.
And just to add, I totally concur with Sarah, like she literally read my mind, so. Yes, so it's a gap filler, so this is above and beyond what we do with the transit. Just to put it in perspective, so previously we used to have 2 years agreement, so this 1.7 million is for 3 years, so that's one thing. And just to give you an idea, for our temple program for 3 years, it cost about $1 million for 3 years, so 1.7 mil. 1 million is gone just for rent. And we have Kiki, just one staff for 3-year salary. You add this up. And then we have all this outreach with coordination with school districts and others, you add them up. We have the study, feasibility study, 150, 200, add them up. So, and we're also working on all those other innovative, like mobility wallet and all those things. So in my book, it's actually way less than what I need. So just to give you a perspective, so it's, yeah.
And I'm not questioning that. I'm looking for open policy for people to see where that money's going prior to giving it.
Absolutely.
So that accountability section, because we're all short of funds right now. You're challenging, I'm challenged, we're 59% underfunded on the roads. So, and right now it's really getting a lot of scrutiny. And I have taxpayers call me, where's this money going you approved? I need those answers.
Absolutely.
As an elected official, it's really hard to say, well, we just support it. It's for the general fund. That doesn't answer their questions. So that's, I'm just looking for details so the public knows what we're doing and holds us accountable.
Yeah, well, that's why we invited them to come today. I mean, most of the presentation is what they just completed.
Yeah.
So many of the things they completed will continue into the future. So that, as far as transparency and what they're doing, presentation, that was part of the reason for inviting them. So policy committee members can know this is where the community options, transportation options funds go to, the kind of programs they do. Obviously, there's probably lots of details. We could go into 2 hours, probably with all the details of the band pool and everything like that. But this is just a quick overview of that program. Yeah.
Okay, anything else? Councilor Phillips.
No, I don't want to interrupt discussion, but I'm prepared to make a motion.
Go.
Okay, I move that we adopt resolution 24-24, amending the SKATS FFY 2024 to 2029 MTIP. Did I do that correctly?
You did.
Okay.
Need a second? Anybody?
I'll second.
Thank you. Moved by Councilor Phillips, seconded by Director Duncan. Any further discussion? All in favor?
Oh, sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt.
Counselor?
Just to speak to the motion, I think that it's a reasonable request to get a sense of what's coming next, but I appreciate the presentation and I feel confident that this is a value add for our community, our communities, and I'm proud to, make this happen and fund it for 3 more years.
Thank you. Any other discussion? All in favor signify by saying aye.
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 Any opposed signify by saying no. There are no objection. Motion passes unanimously. Awesome. Thank you much. Safe route to school. This is just a cool day. All right.
Give me a second. I'm going to share the PowerPoint. Sorry, not the PowerPoint. This is a different kind of format of. Okay, there we go. So we're going to talk about safe routes to school. As you noted earlier, we have our staff here. Tanya Perfecto Calderon, and our new staff member just started last Thursday, right? Yeah. Although she's been a volunteer with us throughout the whole year, going to a lot of events.
It's February.
Yeah, in February. So Meredith Hegewald. So they both doing a great job. Beth Schmidt, who is our coordinator, couldn't join us today. She's at a school conference in Colorado. expanding her knowledge of safe route to school practice. So we're going to show you a presentation of kind of accomplishments that have happened for safe routes to school during the year, and then we'll get on to other topics. So, and Tanya put this wonderful presentation together.
This is true.
So one thing we did this year was, and really the first year we've done it, is bicycle safety education and engagement. So we had the bicycles from Cycle Oregon. We had 2 large trailers available for us, and we did bicycle safety and education at 3 schools. These were 3-week classes at the schools. At some schools like Chavez, we found that a lot of students didn't know how to ride a bike. So I think 150 students kind of learned to ride a bike for the first time, which is fine. We take all students, whether they know how to ride a bike or not, and teach them how to ride a bike, or just teach them transportation safety or bicycle safety. So 3 classes. What we've been told by the principals and the teachers is that there's a lot of excitement when the students know they're going to be bicycle safety classes, bike classes in general. And attendance was up. Students who were having trouble showing up at school were enthusiastic to be in school those 3 weeks. So it has a side benefit of drawing students into the class and decreasing absenteeism. So here's some more pictures. We had instructions inside the gymnasium. You can see the 2 large trailers here that Cycle Oregon provided. And then after, I don't know how far into the classes, but we took the kids outside into the schoolyard and biked around the campuses to get practice with them. I think we estimated about 600 students partook into these classes over the 3 schools. We also had our first bike bus. So we met at Cherriots College, and as a group biked to Stevens Middle School, which is the school we targeted for this pilot. Very nice weather, fortunately. You asked earlier about our coordination with transit. So this is the first time we did the mobile classroom, which, and the title doesn't tell you what exactly it is. It's bringing 4th and 5th graders to the bus comes to the school, and 4th and 5th graders get a tour of the bus, learn bus etiquette, bus safety, and the connection to transit is obvious, but also because there'll be middle schoolers and eventually high schoolers who have free transit. This is their introduction to how to ride the bus, and hopefully we'll get them to be bus riders in the future. More pictures of our mobile classroom. Learning to put a bike on the bus, things like that. Some things we've been doing for the last couple of years is pedestrian safety, education, and engagement. So we had 19 walking buses at elementary schools, 11 schools participated. We had 4 schools participate in International Walk and Roll to School. 8 schools had Ruby Bridges Walk to School Day, and we did this the first year, 2 years ago. We only had 1 school. It was our pilot, and then last year we expanded to 8 schools. And this coming year, we're working with schools right now. We don't know exactly how many, maybe between 8 and 10 schools will participate in Ruby Bridges Walk to School Day. Then when Beth initially was hired, she was going out to schools and teaching pedestrian safety. But we realized with over 40 schools, we couldn't do that. So Beth worked with the school district and got a safety curriculum approved by the school district. And now the teachers will teach these safety classes. Now, it's still a slow involvement of the schools. So I think it builds. Teachers talk to each other, they learn about this, but more and more schools, we hope, will sign up to do pedestrian safety classes. We provide them with the training, with pedestrian safety kits that get circulated to the schools. We're available for any training or additional support. So that's our involvement in that program. This shows a little bit about the kind of safety training that goes on inside the gyms. Here's a picture of one of our safety kits. I think now we have 8 safety kits that circulate among the schools. Walking school buses. So we, forget how many schools we said we did, 11 schools, walking school buses.
19 walking buses, but 11 schools participated.
Right. Thank you. And then we usually, sometimes we meet at the school, but usually we meet outside the school at a designated location. And then we meet as a group with students and parents, if they want to be there, and teachers and other staff, and walk as a group to the school.
Rain or shine.
These are the schools that participated last year. And as I mentioned, the Ruby Bridges Walk to School Day is every year on November 14th. It's more than just Walk to School Day. It's celebrating breaking down barriers, racial barriers that Ruby Bridges did in Louisiana, right? Louisiana. And it's been quite popular. It's not just the day of the event, but it's the days leading up to the event, learning about Ruby Bridges. So very fun event to participate. And this year, COG staff is taking some time off in the morning to join some of these walks. So we want to show our support for this. So those are some of the pictures I had. And then let me flip over to sharing. Yeah, I guess I could lose you just. Yeah. Oh, who's sharing?
Did you share screen or share tab?
Oh, I got to share.
Stop share.
Yeah, I got to switch. I thought it was sharing. So these two, I have 2 slides to follow up. So this is the accomplishments last year. I went over, the pictures told all this and I talked about this, but we talked about the safety classes, the walking school buses, mobile classroom. We didn't have a picture for this, but we also got awarded 2 grants. One from ODOT for safety equipment, which we mostly use for bicycle helmets, but also some reflective gear that we pass out at events. And then we got a almost $150,000 grant, which we're processing now for just general support for a Safe Route to School program. So that'll be for 25 and 26. And the other thing we didn't really have a slide for, but our coordinators have done a lot of outreach to groups, to safety committees, to city councils, neighborhood associations, social media. Tanya is great with social media, Instagram and Facebook, and what else? Where else you post? Lots of postings, and she does a very good job. You know, I'm surprised when I go on those. Not too surprised, but I like going on those Instagrams and seeing how many people are signed up to follow us. And so we're getting the word out, and I think people are talking about this program and how they want to bring it to their schools. Meredith and I did an event beginning of the school year at Cummings Elementary School just to get the word out about we have a Safe Route to School program. Cummings did a walking school bus. So when we talk to parents, they are interested in, especially the bicycle safety program. So that was our accomplishments from last year, and just to briefly go over expectations for the coming year, because we're always evolving, trying to improve our processes. So we have a new partnership plan between the school district and the Safe Route to School program, which outlines very directly what are the expectations by staff and at the school level by the school staff at the individual school and at the administrative level supporting us. So whatever event they are planning, whether it's a walking school bus or a bicycle bus or anything else, it's outlined very specifically what each partner in that program is supposed to do. What we do is supporting, what the office is doing as far as promoting the materials that we create for them and distribute to the students. And if you have questions about Tanya, you can answer those things. We developed a memo of understanding with both Salem and Keizer and Cycle Oregon for the bicycles. I appreciative of both Salem and Keizer stepping up because we are getting these bicycle trailers, and both cities are going to help us move them between schools and store them at facilities on their properties in between those classes. So Cycle Oregon doesn't have to come down here continuously through the year and move them for us, and et cetera, et cetera. So thank you, Salem and Keizer. Right now, we're in the process of arranging the bicycle safety classes. We think we have about 6 schools that we will get to. We're still working through that. One thing that's new this year is we were doing 3rd to 5th graders at these schools, but what about the younger kids? So we have learn to ride classes that we're working through. We don't have all the details locked down, but we hope to do that and pilot it for kindergartners, 2nd graders. We want to continue supporting the pedestrian safety classes that the PE teachers do. As I mentioned, again, Ruby Bridges, where we think we get 8 to 10 schools next month. We'll continue doing walking school buses when we can coordinate that with the schools, bicycle buses with the elementary school and middle schools, the mobile classrooms, and then continue the community outreach events. So that's the 2 things I wanted to show you as a presentation, and I'll stop there. And if you have any questions for myself or Tanya, please ask.
All right, fantastic. Any questions on what has been, what is, and what is coming?
I'll tell you, this is just a great program.
Yeah.
So our kids are tomorrow's future, and anytime we can teach them safety, we owe it. Because the last thing anybody would be is to be one that ran over a child.
Right.
They get excited and run the streets. We see it all the time. That's something we hope will never happen again.
And we have tremendous support from the superintendent. She's been great. She's been there on our events, meeting with Beth frequently to coordinate this. So kudos to her.
This morning, I was in with my other hat for the ACT, but talking to the OTC. And I mentioned that I was coming here specifically, for what we were talking about with our transportation options and safe routes to school. And with this being the 2nd largest school district in the state, the opportunity is great to expand this program and to make these options for our kids, right from the time they're little. This is how you get around. It becomes very natural, and why it's so important to go ahead and get these fully funded, get the kids out and about, especially with the gap we experienced because of the pandemic shutdown, that we lost a lot of that experiential learning as well as the academic. There's a gap there. Councillor Phillips.
Yeah, I agree with everything Chair and Vice Chair, or the Chair and other members have said. And I just want to, commend the members who work on this. This is incredibly important. I don't just feel that this is incredibly important as a city councilor, but also as an emergency room doctor. This is a program that saves lives. So, thank you for the work you're doing in our community. And I wish you guys the best of luck moving forward. I really appreciate the update and the presentation this morning.
All right. Well, since we're talking about safe routes to school, why don't we go to item G, which has money. Let's talk money.
Okay. So Steve's going to load the presentation. For those who have been on the policy committee a while, you've probably heard about redistribution funds. So this is primarily about those funds where they could go. Go back to the first slide. So at the end of the slide, at the end of this item, the request is to approve 2 resolutions to approve redistribution funds that came to SKATS to do 2 different programs. The question is, should the 2024 redistribution funds awarded to SKATS be programmed to 2 projects listed? Safe routes to school for fiscal year 26 to 28, and development of a activity-based model. We went over this with the TAC earlier this month, and they supported the proposals. Next. So let me go a little background about redistribution funds. It's been around for a while. So each year, Federal Highway redistributes federal transportation funds that are not obligated by August 1st. The federal fiscal year goes from October 1st to September 30th. And by August 1st, they have an idea of how much is going to be obligated and what will be left to redistribute. So a share of the redistribution funding received by ODOT, which they got $80 million this year, is awarded to SKATS for meeting obligation targets for projects in the TIP. So just a little background on that. We program our funds, our federal funds, every year, and we track them very closely. And if we meet our targets, meaning if we programmed $5 million among 5 projects, if they were obligated to be spent that year, that means we've met 100% of our target. Only 4, let's say 4 of them, each $1 million, were obligated, we met 80%. So we have a specific target to reach each year. It's gone up each year. It started at 50, and I think it's eventually going to be 80 or 85 to get the final target. But if we meet these targets, then we qualify for these redistribution funds. And not just us, but this was an agreement between ODOT, the Metro MPO, and the Central Lane MPO. So as I said, ODOT received $80 million, and we get a share of that. So our share for the past year, for 24, since we met our target, and I think we met it quite high, right? Probably in the 80s or 90s.
95%, I think, because the obligation rate price.
So our share this year is a little over $1 million. And but with all these redistribution funds, including what ODOT gets, ODOT wants us to program these funds as soon as possible. That's the whole point of these redistribution funds. They come into the states and they should put to some program soon. Next slide. So as I just mentioned, we only get redistribution funds if we meet obligation targets. So that's why Steve's here. He's always checking with the locals. How's the project coming? Do we need to push it back a year, etc. So this slide shows what we received in the past couple of years. Anything from 685,000 to 1.6 million. And last year we got $1.6 million. Same amount as we're getting this year. So we've gotten over $3.3 million in redistribution funds that for those 3 amounts go back into the TIP and have been funding the cost escalations for projects. So when your projects come back to us and say, hey, costs have gone up, I need more funds, this has helped fill that hole a little bit, or one source of how we're filling that hole. And we're doing that to, you can go back. So it's doing the funding shortfall, but also we have the complete projects policy. So we want to complete projects, and this funds helps to meet that policy of completing projects. Next slide. So as I mentioned, each year SKATS tracks the status of our projects with the sponsors. So to give you a bigger picture of how our TIP is doing, as we begin federal fiscal year 25, which started beginning of October, we have about 8.77 million of unprogrammed funds through federal fiscal year 2027. Now, we still have a couple projects that still will need funding, we expect. We funded a lot of projects in the past, and we've added funds to those projects. And we're tracking all those projects. And upcoming, I think it's both 2025, Center Street, and yeah, in 2025, we expect about 3.7 million will be needed to add to 2 projects, Verta Lane and Center Street. We're not adding them now. We're kind of waiting until they have better numbers to tell us of how much they need. But in discussions with them, that's the amount we're kind of assuming will be needed for those projects. And that money, the 3.7, give or take, should help complete those 2 projects. After funding those 2 projects, we should have about $4 million remaining in the TIP. And that's not counting any redistribution funds we'll get next year in 25 or 26 or 27. So I think we're doing pretty well as far as having available funds to cover projects that may need funds in the next few years. So we're in pretty good shape with our TIP. And I know that's important to this group because we want to make sure we're completing projects and we have the funds to help. Next project, next slide, I mean. So getting back to the Safe Routes to School program, currently, thanks to thanks to the SKATS, but also some money from ODOT, we think we have enough funds to get us through June 2026. But after June 2026, we don't have any funds. So this first amendment of the redistribution funds is to provide funding for Safe Routes to School using $650,000 of their $1.1 million of redistribution funds, plus $500,000 of savings from the MPO planning funds. So at the end of the year, when I have savings, I either forward it toward a future planning needs, or I return it back to the TIP. Like a year ago, we returned $350,000 back to the TIP to help with any cost overruns of projects. But this year, I want to take that $500,000 savings and apply it for the Safe Routes to School program, in addition to the redistribution funds. So the funding would be for everything we just showed you: coordination, staffing, and materials through September 2028. Those two amounts, the 1.15 million of federal dollars with match, would be about 1.28 million for those 3 years, or about $460,000 a year for the Safe Routes School. Next. So that's the first request. The first amendment is to amend the TIP with the redistribution funds and the MPO planning savings funds. So not taking anything out of the current TIP, just those funds. The other request is for the activity sim, activity-based model. So we've had modeling here since I started, and we've done household surveys in '94 and 2011. And recently, and we've been keeping you up to date, we've completed a new household survey in 23 and 24 with brand new data. And the next step is to update our models with that data. But in addition to updating the models, we're shifting models. So right now we run something called the 4-step model, which is a very aggregated model. It's taking zones of our area and saying there's so many households and so many trips from that area, and how many will take vehicles, how many will take transit, how many will walk. So it's very aggregated. An activity-based model is different. And I'm not the expert, so I have Ray here to help me, but it's actually creating a list of households and people in that household and modeling their activity as households, individual households. So it's a lot more detailed, a lot more complicated. Whole new code has to be written. And we've been talking about this in Oregon for many years. The statewide model runs something like this, where they're doing households. But at the metro level, we're talking about having activity-based models. There are a couple right now for the Medford area, right? Medford and Corvallis, Albany area. Just Medford? Okay. Yeah, the other one's just in test. Oh, okay. So ODOT has gotten their hands dirty a bit, has had some practice with activity-based models, and for the last few years have been developing the design of these activity-based models. And it's getting ready to, well, they have agreements with consultants to do this work, but then they're getting ready to do the individual work orders to start building these models now that we have the new data. So as far as SKATS, we want to contribute to this effort that's being done by Metro, ourselves, Central Lane, and others, and ODOT, to build these new models. So we're not just, so we're all in sync as far as our modeling capability and upgrades and other things like that.
Okay.
I clicked it myself, but it's not going anywhere. So the amendment is to request that we use $356,000 of redistribution funds to start working on this activity-based model next year in 2025. Now, we don't know the full cost of the model development. If there are more costs down the line, we'll be looking to my MPO planning funds primarily to fund it. I can't say for sure. I won't ask a year from now, maybe using a little bit of redistribution funds. But as we don't know the full cost, I can't tell you what it will be, but this will be a pretty good start to getting us going on activity-based model. Next. So in summary, and sorry for taking so long to go through this, taking our a little over $1 million in redistribution funds for these two programs, Safe Routes to School and Activity-Based Model. And it's the last slide. I think this is, yeah. Yep. So this is the last slide, and open for questions and the raising the question.
Okay, so I've got a question on the second one on the activity sim based model. So will the data that's generated from that be more more robust as we're doing the CFEC scenario planning, rather than, I'm getting the head nod from Ray, you know where I'm going.
Yes.
Because the trip-based models are really limited and they don't take into account a lot of the other variables. But what I'm getting from the description here when I was reading it, that this would actually help us do planning that might actually work in my community.
Well, both models will help your community. This one will allow us to look at how policies impact individuals and households. And so the micromobility study we can do that with the ABM, not really with the trip base. The CFEC rules for BMT reductions at the household level, we can track that better with the ABM than with the 4-step. So this is setting us up for all these policies that are coming along and that have been enacted at the state and the federal level at some point to better answer those questions.
I'm just gonna follow up on that because you mentioned Portland Metro and Eugene Springfield, we're on par as the second largest metro area in the state. It would make sense that we have similar quality and robust data to speak to how we are doing our transportation planning along with the other two metro areas.
And with everyone in the state going with the same platform, we get economies of scale. And Activity Sim is actually internationally used. So a number of larger NGOs in the country and then one or two outside are using it. And so there's people developing tools for equity analysis for other sorts of, not just road, not just transit analysis that we currently have, but for more encompassing look at how people travel and impacts thereof.
Cool. Thank you. Questions? I saw Councilor Phillips, you unmuted.
Yeah, if there's no questions, I'm happy to make a motion.
Any other questions?
I'll second that motion.
Okay, moved by Councilor Phillips, seconded by Commissioner Mordhorst to adopt both.
Yeah, adopt
Yeah.
resolution 24-25 and 24-26 for the SKATS fiscal year 24 through 29 in the MTIP.
All right, any further discussion? All in favor, please signify by saying aye.
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 Anybody opposed, signify by saying no. Hearing no objection, motion passes unanimously. Fantastic. All right, MTIP mods. Goes to Steve.
Yeah, so there's 3 on the list since the last month, their last meeting, so I went too far. Okay, there we go. So there's 3 amendments that have taken place since our September meeting. The first one was adding the Front Street redevelopment corridor plan, which was the RAISE grant funding City of Salem received that the policy committee approved last month. The other 2 were pretty minor changes. One was we slipped a transit project that didn't obligate in 2024. We slipped it to 2025 for when it should obligate now that we've just started the new federal fiscal year. And then the last one was an adjustment in the local match for a all road transportation safety project that ODOT funded for interline work on River Road from Park Meadow in Keizer North to I think it's 219. It's a pretty large length of the corridor, but when it originally was added, it should have had the local match on there. So this is the local match.
Well, thanks for describing the project because I was going, oh, wait, what's this? So this is going to be align the center line. Look at
The rumble strips.
thank you. Okay, perfect. Thank you. All right, any other questions on those? All right. Let's go to. There we go. So informational items, we have our next policy meeting on November 26th, 2024. That's just before Thanksgiving. It is, next TAC meeting will be on November 12th. Oregon Transportation Commission will meet on the November 14th and December 11th. And then we have our planning list below. So Mike, do you want to make sure, see if we have any questions on those? You covered a lot of the Safe Routes to School already.
Yeah, well, last week we had the Spotlight on Success, where our staff attended the school board meeting and along with some teachers, were congratulated on the success of the Safe Routes to School program, especially the bike safety program. Job is.
Saw that on Facebook.
Yes.
So that was really good to get the word out.
Mhm.
So I think I liked it and I might have shared it. If not, I'm going to.
What's not on here is, well, the first item was about the TIP application, but it's pretty self-evident with these projects. So make sure your staff are working on applications for projects. Those are the due dates for the 2732 TIP. Not on the agenda is the next OMPOC meeting. We don't have a date. I was texting or emailing with Kelly Clark, and it's going to be end of January, beginning of February timeframe, right? Also, she sent out very recently the OMPOC's 2025 legislative priorities. And so I'm emailing with her and when we have a final version or a final version to share, I'll send that out.
I saw it and it's earmarked for after I come over here.
Okay, sure. Okay.
Election season. Okay.
That's about it. Oh, yes. So it's not on here also, but every 4 years we have to do a certification review of our planning program. And so we passed our last one, but they were corrective actions to go through when we made those changes. So we have the next certification meeting coming up. It's November 13th. SAMTD staff will join us for that. And then they'll go over the areas of discussion. They always focus on different areas of planning. This one's going to be different from the last one. And then after that initial meeting, actually it's a meeting week after that, or 2 weeks after that, they'll write their review and we'll get that, forget the date. Do you remember the date? 28th. Oh, sorry, February 8th.
Although Ashley can just answer.
Okay, that's right. Forgot you're online. Ashley?
Yeah, thank you. So it's due February 8th, but then we'll have that meeting on I think it's November 25th, so we can kind of share our preliminary impressions and get some feedback as we're writing the report. And then we will provide it to you before February 8th so you can provide comments to us and make sure everything's accurate.
And I think, unless the people have questions about that, on our website, there is an opportunity right now for the public to communicate with federal highway staff if they want to make comments about our planning program. So we've been posting that on our website and sending information out to the public.
Perfect.
That's it.
All right. I believe we've covered a lot of ground today. Counselor, wow. Commissioner
You're
Mortimer.
close. Yeah, I know, it's a long day. I just had a question on the federal redistribution funds. Most of you know, we've had 3 major accidents, Highway 22 and 51 over the last 4 months, 1 fatality. One of the things we're trying to do is some interim safety efforts out there to reduce those accidents. We came up with eliminating the left turn lane if you're northbound on Highway 51 coming onto 22. You would be diverted to the left side to South Oak Grove Road. You make a left on the other side of that triangle hillside west of that intersection. A lot better visibility, but they're needing ODOT's saying roughly $160,000 to $170,000 to make that project a reality. And they are working as fast as they can. They're meeting this week with maintenance supervisors, making sure it works within their realm. The county will keep ownership of the Southwell Grove to make it work quicker and faster. We'll be responsible for all maintenance, even for the traffic, which is gonna be minimal. But I was wondering if we don't have a project yet, because they're working on a key number, if we get that rolled off this week with all the maintenance people, but is it a possibility to utilize some of this money to pay for that project when it's on an ODOT highway and we
Well, have time? That's a discussion to have. It is, I mean, that intersection and those streets are within the SKATS boundary, so we could use our own funds. My preference would be for ODOT to use their funds, if they could, for a couple of reasons. One, we wanted to save our funds as much as we can. The two, our funds are federal funds, and they might prefer to use non-federal funds. There's less strings tied to, non-federal funds. And I talked to Anna a little bit about that. She was going to, look into this. Who knows what we can try to arrange. So I should talk more to Anna and see where things stand. But certainly our federal funds are, it probably is eligible. It's definitely within our boundary. And I think there's more discussion to be had.
And maybe partner with the state, but I just want to put that out there for everybody to consider. So if we able to pull this off, it's not something new. You'll have a chance to check in and actually think about it prior to that moment when we do have a chance, if it can make a reality.
And just thinking out loud, as I mentioned earlier, the state got $80 million in redistribution funds. I don't know if they've allocated all of it, have some still available, so that's another source to check into.
One thing I've found is, as you have these meetings, the whole state is trying for the same bucket of money of funds. They all have their Highway 2251 intersection. They all have their potholes and roads sliding off. It's statewide. As a commissioner, you work with commissioners throughout the state. As we're talking, every one of them have that one intersection or that one roadway that's so difficult to address. And to find that funding and be able to get that is very challenging.
I love the problem solving though, that, finding those interim, start pecking away at the designs that can start moving toward the bigger project, but getting after it now. I love it. Thank you for doing that. Councilor Phillips.
Yeah, I really thank you, Chair, and I really appreciate the commissioner, continuing to advocate for safety in our community. I will never forget being on shift, given a pre-alert that there was a trauma coming in for a patient thought to be maybe in their 30s who was pregnant, and then the information was that they're not coming in because they didn't make it, and it was from this location. So I don't know if it had to do with a left-hand turn, but this is a very dangerous intersection. I appreciate the staff, Mike, thank you for keeping us all level-headed. I remember being told that when, you get that federal rules in, sometimes it increases the cost. So I can appreciate, wanting to keep things efficient, and it might cost less if the state dollars do it. But this is an important project, and it's, it sounds approachable in the terms of like $150,000. So, I can't comment if I would support it through the federal funds, but broadly speaking, something like that needs to happen.
Thanks for keeping this top of mind and our regional collaboration for problem solving. It's awesome.
And safety is our highest priority in our plan. It's a very good use of funds, I believe. I've driven over there several times since we had a discussion. I was just there last weekend looking at it. Found that boarding, dog boarding thing over there, business over there. So looked at the trees that you mentioned that are lining the highway that may or may not have to be removed to improve visibility. So I'm very aware of the site, and I want to have more discussions with Anna, who's talking internally, and then we'll talk about if they have funds, and if they don't, what can we do? So.
And that's really what we're doing, is we're trying to keep that dialogue moving. The more people we can get involved, the quicker we can react. and get something done. So federal money may slow us down. I don't know, but I'm not gonna close any door to any opportunity that might arise, so. They're looking for funding, but ODOT right now is broke. They're laying off several hundreds of people.
Yeah, so that's why, you know, if they can't find any dollars, they should, you know, we should talk about using MPO funds, but that's the decision of the whole board.
Thank you.
Let's definitely have that conversation. All right. Thanks, everybody. The time is 1:22 and we are adjourned.
Power over line back.